So in this segment, we're going to be talking about hybrid cars. So this is an article I saw a while ago, and some of these videos they're going to be from slightly older articles because I just want to get them out of the way, and some of these are still very important. So we're going to be talking about plug-in hybrid cars, and that's very different to normal hybrid cars. So parallel hybrid cars, that's the most common type. That's the Prius. The mainstream Prius. A lot of taxi drivers drive these. So you got these are the most common types of hybrid. Talking about parallel hybrid cars. You've got the Toyota Prius is the most widely known example. The car's wheels can be powered in three different ways. Blah blah blah. If you want to read this, then feel free to pause. You got range extender hybrids, and the one we're talking about here is plug-in hybrids. So as the name implies, this type of hybrid can be plugged into an electric outlet to recharge batteries as well as being charged on the move. Effectively, they are a halfway house between conventional hybrids and full electric hybrids. Although they have a conventional engine, they also have larger batteries than regular hybrids and can drive longer distances on electric power alone, up to 30 miles in some cases. Okay, and so why is this important? So basically, Greenpeace and another group, if we can find Transport and Environment, that's the other group's name. They're claiming that the plug-in hybrid cars emit 120 grams of CO2 per kilometer. Okay, now that's important because at the moment the EU from 2012 have a target of cars to produce only 130 grams of CO2. Sorry, that's carbon dioxide, right? Per kilometer. That's very different, actually. Miles. Is that both kilometers? Okay, no, it's both kilometers. Sorry, I just had a brain melt there. And so basically, these plug-in cars, essentially, these plug-in hybrids, aren't much better than usual normal cars that they're still producing, and that's very strange. And one of the reasons for this is basically they've cheated the system. They've cheated the system because in the lab tests, it shows that they're 44 grams of CO2 per kilometer. And so basically what this means is they've pulled a Volkswagen and have cheated the system. So that's what that means. So the new research is published as the government considers whether to bring forward a proposed ban on the sale of new petrol, diesel, and conventional hybrid cars from 2035 to 2030. And that's not far away, you know. That's scary. It's about 10 years away. And so obviously I think here they're talking about parallel hybrids, so like the normal Prius and stuff like that. And that's where the issue lies, because if you ban those sorts of cars and these plug-in hybrids aren't much better, then it causes problems. The BBC understands one suggestion is that plug-in hybrid should be given a stay of execution with new sales allowed until 2035. That's because they can offer 20 to 40 mile range as a purely electric vehicle and are therefore potentially significantly less polluting than other vehicles. But this new analysis from Transport and Environment and Greenpeace suggests that they don't offer anything like the carbon dioxide savings they claimed for them by manufacturers. So essentially, manufacturers have look like they've misled people, and you could argue that this is an accident, but I don't think it's an accident because car manufacturers have a precedent of doing these sorts of things. Again, I'm going to cite the Volkswagen example once again, and so basically, these sorts of cars are not great for carbon. They're better than obviously conventional cars, but they're not much better. And obviously, you have other problems with getting things like the lithium for the batteries as well. There's another huge problem there with how it's produced and how environmentally friendly that stuff is. So driver behavior, transport and environment analysis says a key problem with plug-in hybrids is that so many owners rarely actually charge their cars, meaning that they rely on the petrol or diesel engine. Another is that plug-in hybrid models include design features that automatically turn on the petrol and diesel engine at startup on a cold day, or will kick in that engine if the driver accelerates hard. So basically the issue is that if you when you start up on a cold day, so it's probably got some sort of sensor in there, and if you start revving up the engine, then essentially it's going to switch to the petrol because it's probably a lot more quicker to hit the speeds, which obviously isn't great. So obviously the latter mode means that car emissions will depend a lot on the driver's behaviour. But obviously if you're starting up your car on a cold day, that's not your fault. That's obviously on the car and the manufacturers that have made this. And says if you always charge the battery and tend to do lots of short journeys, they will have very low emissions, says Nick Molden, who runs the Emissions Analytics, a company that specialises in vehicle emissions evaluation. If you never charge the battery and drive very aggressively, then you have significantly higher emissions than the equivalent petrol or diesel model. So basically what he's saying here is if you don't charge a battery and you're an aggressive driver, your car is worse than a petrol diesel car, which is horrible because that makes the car basically pointless and worse for the environment if you're one of these kinds of drivers, which there are. And also another problem is like it's very inconvenient to actually charge these cars. I have in Northampton, there's not many car charging places. I know Linus built a car charging thing into his house, into his garage, which I think a lot more people will be doing. But doing that is he made it look easy because he got a professional electrician, but I don't know how much that cost him. So if those sorts of things aren't available to general public, then that means if you buy a plug-in hybrid, you're not going to charge the car very often. So it makes it kind of pointless in a way. And if we look at the Volkswagen emission scandal here, it's been dubbed the diesel Jeep. In September, the EPA said many Volkswagen cars have been sold in America had a defeat device or software in diesel engines that could detect when they were being tested, changing the performance accordingly to improve results. The German car giant has admitted to cheating emissions tests during the US. So what this means is this car has some sort of sensor to detect when it's in a lab, when it's in lab type conditions. I don't know how it works, but it sounds like a sophisticated piece of kit. According to the EPA, and basically, I think that's what these guys have done here. Where when the car's under lab test, it does something to the car, so then the emissions are lower. And so what that means is they can show that these cars are actually better for the environment, and therefore get more grants and get subsidies and things like that when they're really not that much better in some ways. And so I think that's what's happened here. I'm not 100% sure. Obviously, we don't know if they've cheated the system or if it's just a case of people not charging the cars and that being a factor as well. It looks like that's the case. So it could be a mix of things. But what we can see from this is plug-in hybrids are not the best. And so these are not the these will be a stopgap potentially, but they won't be the full answer to solving climate change when it comes to cars. But I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.